What do you call a factory that makes okay products? A satisfactory. Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of our Q&A series. My name is Maciek, I'm one of the leaders of NXO Comms Industry Practice, and in this series of videos I'm presenting my point of view on some topics related to the comms industry APification. In the previous episode, I tried to explain the subtle difference between product, service, and resource. And judging from all the comments I have received, it made at least some sense to some of you. Now, the question, why it's actually so important to keep these concepts separated one from another. Let me try to explain that in brief. The world is a chaos. It's complex and unstructured. And by the way, communications industry is a great example of that. Now, what we engineers, software developers, and architects are trying to do, we're trying to organize that chaos and bring it into the order. And we're doing that by defining abstract concepts which are approximation modeling the reality surrounding us. Now, that was a bit philosophical, but let me give you an example. The Alfa Romeo car that I brought up in the previous episode is a very real thing. You can go to the nearest Alfa Romeo dealership to see it, touch it, drive it, open the hood to see all the different parts. But when you come back home and you try to describe it to your family, based on your story, they will try to visualize an Alfa Romeo in their head. Their brains will create an abstract image of what you have described. Now you can make your family sit on the couch and make them listen a very long and detailed story covering all the aspects of your dealership visit. And I can tell you, each of them will imagine what you've just described in a completely different way. But equally, you can tell 3 different stories, separate one to your partner, who all that might care is that glossy red finish matching the outfit. Separate to your older kid, a petrolhead car maniac, and separate to the younger kid, an aspiring mechanical engineer interested in all the nuts and bolts. And finally, separate one to yourself in desperate search to defend a business case for this midlife crisis investment. I know, I don't make it easy, but to the point. How does this story relate to our product service resource question? As I said, what we engineers do, we are defining abstract constructs, modeling reality around us. And from the previous episode, we know that product, service, and resource represent 3 different contexts. Product, what you buy. Service, what you operate. And resource, how you assemble. So when you try to combine all these 3 contexts into one, you as an architect need to end up with an abstract construct that need to be capacious enough for that construct to be useful in all the 3 contexts. But instead, if you define 3 different abstract constructs, each tied to the specific context, they become much smaller and much easier to comprehend. What I'm trying to explain here is deeply rooted in the software development, and if you're into software architecture and building complex business applications, modeling these abstract constructs or so-called aggregates is more of an art than the science, and it's underpin of an approach called domain-driven design, described first by a gentleman named Eric Evans, where the importance of defining clear boundaries or so-called bounded contexts in the software promises better clarity, simplicity, and avoidance of spaghetti-style applications where everything is connected with everything else. Context is important, and it defines application boundaries. And our three contexts easily map to application architectures commonly used in the comms industry. Products in the what we buy context, belonging to so-called business support systems, BSS layer. Services in the what we operate context to OSS, operational support systems layer. And resources in the how you assemble context to the network management systems layer. Benefit of separating the three is called separation of concerns. Thanks to that, our software becomes clearer, simpler to comprehend, and easier to maintain in the long run. But that's not the only benefit. Contexts are dynamic. They coexist and transition one to another. So our product, service, and resource don't live in isolation. They need to interact, and for that purpose we have interfaces. Each context exposes a set of methods to the external world to enable interacting with it. These methods encapsulate our context, exposing everything that is needed to the external world and hiding everything else that is internal and not relevant. This is where another benefit arises, because we've separated product, service, and resource constructs, and we have only coupled them at their boundaries at the interface level. We achieve something that is called loose coupling. So it's easier for us to make changes within boundaries of the context while keeping other contexts untouched. Let's make it practical. Let's say you have invested millions of dollars to build an orchestration platform, enabling you to spin up on-demand IP services in the matter of seconds. Most likely, you'd want to avoid needing to rebuild it in case your marketing team comes up with another great idea of repackaging your internet product offerings. And the same, you'll want to avoid needing to change that if your technology team suddenly decides to use screws and bolts from company X instead of company Y. PSR model and the separation of product, service, and resource is a common concept in the comms industry and originates from the original telemanagement forum frameworks. And if you take a closer look at architecture diagrams from the MEF LSO framework, it's also visible there. This picture can be easily mapped to our product, service, and resource constructs. So that's it for today. I hope you like this a bit philosophical considerations. Again, a bit longer episode, but these are not so easy things to explain. Let me know what you think about the topic in the comments, and if you have any topics you'd like me to cover in the next episode, let us know. Cheers!